When it comes to concrete, we've got you covered. RowPaint.com offers custom concrete coating services for your garage, business, warehouse, and more. And we do it in one day. We are your complete concrete coatings solution.
This is Bronco Nation News Live. The best interviews, the most informed opinions, the latest breaking news, all from the top Boise State insiders. Now, here's four-time NSMA Idaho Sports Writer of the Year, BJ Rains, with another edition of Bronco Nation News Live.
Well, we are back. Mountain West Media Days, day one. Coverage of Boise State and the Mountain West Conference here at Bronco Nation News, bronconationnews.com. And you see the trophy there, and the gentleman that will be handing out the trophy here for whichever team wins it in early December. I know Boise State fans, hopefully, that they'll see you on the stand. Commissioner Craig Thompson of the Mountain West, nice enough to join us here for a couple minutes. How are we doing, sir?
BJ, I'm doing great. You know, you mentioned that we've had 9 championships and we've had 5 different institutions win those championships. Obviously, the Broncos, a couple repeats, but a very balanced league, and we expect another fun 2022 season.
I joked with you that I'm going to try to ask some questions you haven't been asked about, and you said that'd be pretty hard to do. There's an obvious elephant in the room, I guess, today, huh?
Well, it is, you know, and it's interesting. We go through all this. Somebody was asking me where I was when UCLA and USC, it was rumored that they were leaving the Pac-12. I've got a couple acres in Colorado Springs and a lot of scrub oak. I was actually mitigating some fire stuff, and I was in the back boonies, and I came in to get a glass of water, and my phone was lit up, and so that's how I heard about it. But apparently that's how a lot of the Pac-12 ADs institutions heard about it too.
What is your when you do hear that right away? I mean, is it oblique, or I mean, had there been had you heard any rumblings behind the scenes a move like that was possible?
That was really strange. No rumblings, and you know, in this day and age with rumors and innuendo and social media, usually stuff like that leaks, loose lips. But I had heard nothing about it, but neither had members in that own league heard about it. And you know, I wasn't. I was surprised by the timing and the quickness, I guess, but not with the overall decision, frankly.
I think a lot of people thought right away that it was just going to lead to all these dominoes, and it seems like at least temporarily it's slowed a little bit. People are doing their due diligence, their research, don't want to make a panic move, I guess. Is it behind the scenes? Is that what it kind of looks like too? Yeah,
you know, and that's what we all do as conference commissioners. You evaluate, and if there's a necessity, well, there's several reasons you expand. 1, out of necessity, survival. 2, out of enhanced value. Certainly, the Los Angeles market brings a lot to Fox, or they wouldn't have pushed the Big Ten to make this decision. And so, you know, we're sitting back, and I hate to say we're reactionary, but that's arguably where we will be. We talk constantly, our board of directors, our athletic directors, about what we could do and the what ifs and the maybes. But at this point, we don't have to do anything. We haven't done anything, and certainly understand that if there's opportunities. You know, it struck me this morning, this was my 24th media day address to this group, that when we started the league back in 1999, it was formed because people were unhappy with the 16-team WAC and how large it was in the pod system and scheduling, right? And in those 23 years, we have now had 16 different individual membership changes, either people leaving the league, new institutions coming into the league. And so it's been very unique that this is not new business. 16 times in 23 years, we've addressed membership in some form or fashion.
Where does it go from here? And when it comes to your league, you're in a unique spot because you may have teams that have opportunities down the road to leave, and you may have the opportunity to to poach or steal some teams from other leagues, and strengthen yourself. I know there's a lot going on, a lot of scenarios, but are you trying to convince your teams to stay? Are you trying to talk to other teams? Well, if this happens, we may want you. What are your duties as commissioner, trying to prepare for every scenario here?
Well, I think you touched on almost all the options, BJ. We're in a position. I addressed the league last year, and people bought in and thought it was the smart move to stay pat, to stay with 12. We could have added schools from several conferences last fall. And we had our best season in maybe a decade with 4 10-win football teams, with the Bowl Cup championship, with 4 teams in the NCAA men's basketball tournament. So we had a great year successfully just by, as I always say, circling the wagons. And that's always an option. Another option is if we lose members, and I wish them the best. I've asked the question of our board, and I mentioned it this morning, what could, should, would, or can a commissioner do to have people stay in this particular league? The answer is really nothing. If there's an opportunity because of branding, because of revenue, for whatever purposes to leave, they're going to leave. And I've wished TCU and BYU and Utah the very best, and I would do the same if a Mountain West institution were to decide there's a better opportunity for them elsewhere. I hope that doesn't happen, but if it does, we're realists.
You're obviously, we covered Boise State, and folks in Boise obviously watching this. What's it's been a unique relationship, I guess, at times with Boise State, where they were going to leave, then come back, and then you had the potential lawsuit over the money, and just a lot of different things back and forth, as you know, that I don't need to get into. But how do you look at their standing in the conference right now? And obviously, all this make is coming about. But if a team were to leave, what's their value in the TV dollars to another league and all that? And we see there. Obviously, they were, their home games are negotiated separately as part of their original deal. How do you look at value and market size and all that stuff? I guess maybe not just with Boise State, but in general. And we read these former, TV execs talking about, this market size is this, and they're only going to bring this X amount of dollars. And if they don't bring 30 million, then the Pac-12 doesn't want them and all this stuff. How do you, knowing the negotiations and being a part of those and all that stuff, how do you look at market size and TV dollars and all that kind of stuff? That was a very weird, long question.
Well, it's really like selling your house, right? Your house's value is as much as somebody wants to pay you for it. And so I've talked a lot to Fox and CBS in the last couple of weeks. And, the value of the Mountain West television package is Thursday nights, Friday nights, and that 8:30 Mountain kickoff window in basketball, or in football, excuse me. And so that's our value. And what I've said to Fox is, you own the rights to Boise State in part. You own the rights in lesser part to other institutions in the Mountain West, but specifically to the home games for Boise State football. So you're paying us and paying Boise State X for those rights now. You're telling me if they go to another league, they're worth Y? The same.
Yeah, you want that money. You want that money if they're
bingo.
All of a sudden
so now you've hit on the topic. I've said, if that were to happen, and we're the only West Coast conference, let's say to Fox, providing Thursday, Friday, and Saturday programming, pay us more. And so, there's so many moving parts in all this, and it's interesting because, there's no simple, easy solution, and larger isn't always better. And it's unfortunate that rivalries, history, geography, tradition has gone the wayside a lot to television dollars.
There was a question here from Dayton wanting to know, you mentioned the previous 16-team Super WAC back in the day. I said, what difference do you see from that conference in the 90s to the super leagues that are kind of being formed today?
I don't know. Maybe that's where we're all going to go. And certainly when you look at what could happen and transpire, there's 2 leagues that are a cut above the rest. Arguably the SEC and the Big Ten are going to be generating $80 to $100 million per institution annually. To put it in perspective, we distribute a record $65 million to 12 schools this year. So you do the math, $5 million to 75, 80, 90, stop, wherever the number ends, is ridiculously different. But, it's not really any change than what we have faced in the past, because we've never had the largest budgets, the shiniest toys, the biggest weight rooms, etc. But we played pretty darn competitive nationally. And I think my biggest challenge is to work diligently in the structure with transformation, with college football playoff, to keep the Mountain West at the top, highest level we can play in college football nationally.
The Mountain West Commissioner Craig Thompson's with us for a couple more minutes here, and BroncoNationNews.com. And Commissioner, I mean, it would seem to be that with the college football playoff, and I know you guys came out with the model, and then all this stuff has gone haywire, and that's obviously, you know, new information, and it looks like that's going to change. But it would seem like the Mountain West would be in a pretty good spot with the teams that are leaving for the Big 12 and stuff to be the premier Group of 5 conference here for, you know, moving forward for a long time, depending on what else happens. You know, we heard the SEC commissioner come out and say he'd be in favor of 12 if there were no automatic spots. I mean, what are the chances that you can fight and get still an automatic spot for a non-group, you know, for a non-Power 5?
Well, that's a great question, and you know, we're going to have to listen to the conversation and again be very active in that. A huge professional disappointment personally, and I'm biased, that we didn't pass that proposal last summer. I thought it was a really good compromise on all fronts, but it's spilt milk to talk about it. Let's move on. So whether there's 12 at-larges or so many automatics, if there are automatics, I want to challenge, why does this league or that league deserve the automatic over the Mountain West Conference? You look at the champions, and we've had this conversation before, it always seemed to come down to Boise State out of the WAC or the Mountain West champion as to who was going to get that guaranteed access spot in a New Year's Eve bowl. But this league has won Rose Bowls, Sugar Bowls, Fiesta Bowls, played at a very high level. I'm very confident that we're going to have a 12-0, if not 11-1 team. And remember, the Broncos played in the first CFP Fiesta Bowl with 2 losses. Yep. You know, so we're right there. So I'm anxious to get involved in that conversation, BJ, whether it's the automatics or the top 12, because I think we will be in the conversation in either one of those figures.
Okay, but I mean, I would assume you'd prefer to make sure one of those teams got in. But.
Yeah, you know, if there's the highest rated, I hate the monikers, Group of 5 champion, I like our chances because we have been the top-rated Group of 5. Now, Cincinnati, late, Memphis, Central Florida, out of the American have had good runs, but I'm looking around, a couple of those people aren't going to be in the American anymore, and we've still got Boise State and San Diego State and Fresno State, Colorado State, Utah State, etc.
We saw a couple people saying, the average fan, can they do something? Can a Mountain West football fan do something to help raise the value of the Mountain West or the individual schools?
I think just support the athletic programs best you can. I said earlier, you know, Joe Booster has $10,000. Does he or she buy season tickets? Does he buy a quarterback club membership? Does he contribute towards an NIL? Does he contribute towards a collective? I mean, he or she has limited resources, but support your local athletic department.
Now, someone says, remember, you're on in Boise here, so you got to be careful with this one. But they said that you've been traveling all over the league. What's your favorite city in the conference?
Well, they're all great. They're all fun. You know, this is a unique place. We've been coming here for decades with our basketball tournament and the bowl game. You know, Boise's changed so much, and I think to the better. It's a great hidden gem. It's not a hidden gem anymore. Oh, Californians are finding it like the rest of the place, and I don't mean to disparage California, but it's changed the dynamic a little bit. But you can still, you know, ride along the river pathway. You got students on bikes, you got families on bikes. You know, it's just a great mixture. It's a wonderful blend of the West and the new and the contemporary, but we've got a lot of great cities. It's a fun league. I just, you know, hope we step back and reflectively say, what are we looking for? What's special about our affiliation in whatever conference? And does that make sense? You know, I know there's people probably throwing darts and rocks and stones at USC and UCLA. You know, one of our athletic directors was quoted as saying, you know, if there's any school in the Mountain West Conference would jump at the opportunity to go to the Pac-12. Probably a very true statement because of the finances, because of the history, prestige. I mean, we're only a 23-year-old league.
Yeah.
How about, though, 94 years, I think, is the number of USC and UCLA had been affiliated with many of those institutions, starting in the Pacific Coast Athletic Association or something. But 94 years, because I can make more dollars and it's more prestigious over here.
And you're the longest tenured commissioner, correct? Right?
I am.
Do you take pride in that?
I think so. It's.
Well, I mean, you've seen a lot of stuff, and you've had fan bases that want you fired, fan bases that want you getting lifetime extensions. I mean, you've seen it all, and like you mentioned, the teams that have left and come, and through it all, the one constant in this league has been yourself.
Well, it is interesting, and it's fun because I had the opportunity to go to the Masters this year, and we were in a hospitality situation, and the guy was actually going to Boise. He lived in Atlanta and ran a business. And he said, well, I'll tell everybody I know you. And I go, don't tell anybody you know me in Boise. It might not be your best move. And I say that reflectively because you hit right on it. Every decision is not mine collectively, individually or personally, but people want to say, well, he favors so-and-so. And, we're always playing that advantage-disadvantage game. I just try to be fair to everybody because I work for 12.
One of the final questions, someone said, people are asking if teams have reached out to you, whether it be FCS or other conferences or even Power 5. Are you fielding calls, or are you having to go out and make the calls in terms of interested teams potentially if the dominoes fall wanting to join your league?
We've had, I said, I think today, somewhere between half a dozen and a dozen institutions in some form or fashion, mostly through third parties, reach out and say, if you're looking, we're interested. And so, it's really hard to dissolve a conference necessarily. Now, it has happened before, the WAC to the Mountain West, but I think that there would be great interest. But again, we're going to play that same game that the Pac-12 is probably playing right now, and to a degree the Big 12. What purpose and what value, what makes us better? Maybe the Pac-12 makes a decision that we'll be the Pac-10 again. I don't know. I'm not involved in those conversations.
Final question for you, and we really appreciate your time. Where do you see it going from here, maybe in the short term and the long term? Like I said, it seems like it's at least slowing down a little bit. I mean, 3 years from now, do you expect to still have the same 12 teams? And how do you what is the next 3 to 6 months look like for you behind the scenes as well with all this?
I think we're going to find a lot about a next catalyst might be, I believe the Pac-12 is in an exclusive 30-day negotiation for their television rights. They stepped them up. They were due to expire in a couple of years. They're in those conversations now. That's going to depend a lot on what Fox and ESPN and others tell them you're valued at. If you're a 10-team league, we'll pay you X. If you're a 12-team league, we'll pay you X plus what. And then they'll crunch those numbers and make a determination. That's probably the next domino is what the Pac-12 is considering.
Well, we appreciate your time, Commissioner. I know you got a lot on your plate. And if only you could just, hit record and repeat your same answers to all the same questions, it'd be an easier day for you. But we certainly appreciate your time, and I know I joke about it, but folks would love to see you in Boise in early December, for a potential championship type game.
I'm going to be passing through Boise to go to beautiful McCall in a couple of weeks. Okay. So I told Andy I'd love to stop by and address the team or say hello, or at least see a few minutes of practice. But awesome. I always enjoy my trips to Boise.
Well, we appreciate it, and best of luck with all this craziness moving forward. And then looks like the Mountain West, at least on the field, is going to have a strong year this year, and we look forward to seeing what happens. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
There he is, Mountain West Commissioner Craig Thompson. We'll be back with Andy Avalos here in about 10 minutes, so check back for the link, Bronco Nation News, BroncoNationNews.com.
Right now, Lithia Ford of Boise is buying used vehicles. How much you want for the SUV?
I don't know.
Well, Lithia Ford will give you more than that.
How much more?
More than you think.
I'm not thinking anything.
I'm thinking you might get even more than that. See how much more you can get at Lithia Ford of Boise.